our is our esteemed club president, Alan Campbell. Alan has been kayaking for over 20 years, initially inspired by his buddies, the Catfish Group, and their annual guys kayak camping expeditions. I'm just maybe going to mute everybody for a second here. Oh, I lost. Okay, we're okay. Let me go back. Alan's considers his high water mark in kayaking so far was the 2014 trip that he did from Victoria to Juneau, Alaska, as part of the Paddling Fanatics. He's also been known to brave the winds and swells off 10 Mile Point area, as wild as they can be sometimes. Alan kayaks at least twice a week, Wednesdays and Thursdays year-round, and leads paddles for Siska. He loves exploring the BC and Alaska coastal wilderness areas and goes on as many trips as he can squeeze into the better weather months. He's keen to help others new to the sport gain skills and acquire the kit they need to enjoy sea kayaking in what is arguably the best place in the world to paddle. Alan's kayaking buddies are also happy to share what they have learned about paddling safely and comfortably. So this workshop has been crowdsourced with his paddling friends and summarizes a wealth of skills, knowledge, and experience they collectively represent. I think I'll ask if people can mostly hold their questions till the end, but if it's something burning and you want to ask it, go ahead. We are recording this session, so it will be available on the Siska YouTube channel later. And with that, I will say, take it away, Alan.
Okay, well, thank you very much, Lisa. Appreciate it. And thank you, everybody, for tuning in. I have some of my co-conspirators online here. So Melinda, AKA John, I see there. There's another John as well. Anyway, others may join who help participate. Tony, of course. So if at some point when we get there, if you feel burdened to share something more, please feel free to do so, co-conspirators. And otherwise, I'll just work my way through the presentation and we'll see what people online are interested in. I mean, I think that's the important thing. We'd like to give you the information, if we can, that would help you have more fun out there paddling and to do so safely. So I'm just going to share my screen, Lisa, and hopefully we'll get this going. And then we'll go from there. There we go. So hopefully you can see that picture of some puffins on a rock.
Yep.
All right. So this is our second turn through the topic and through this presentation. It has been updated and expanded a little bit, hopefully in ways that are more current and helpful to you. The reason for the puffins is that actually I'm dying to see a puffin in real time out there somewhere on the West Coast. We have them apparently, but I've never yet managed to see one, you know, off the Brooks Peninsula or Cape Scott or whatever. But anyway, this is a puffin. And they are very well adapted to being out there, paddling, swimming, living out on the water. As you can see, they look great. They're very safe. They are great flyers and swimmers and all the rest of it. We, not quite so much, right? We are land animals and we need to really think about how to gear up. So this presentation is intended to give you as much as the group of us who put our heads together could figure out. That might give you a bit more to go on as to what is the best thing for you to wear. So I'll just start working my way through this. And as I mentioned before, the key here, it's always about safety. We want to, I think this is all of us would like to really be as safe as possible out there. This is a picture of my friend Lynn Beyer, and she's moving out through what looked like some fairly stormy, lumpy seas this is on our way out to the north point of the Brooks Peninsula on the west coast. So a place you don't take lightly. Definitely safety, always a concern, whether you're here or in Oak Bay. You need to be thinking about it because the water is about the same temperature. Warmth and comfort are important, obviously, but really we want to try and stay safe. So good clothing. This is a pitch for spending a bit of money. If you've already invested in a kayak and paddle and so forth, the clothing element is going to help you be safer because, as we know, the ocean is always cold, and it doesn't matter what the ambient air temperature is, it's always going to be cold out there. We get sea temperatures in this area between 7 and 11 degrees centigrade, and that'll chill you down very quickly. So there are people who believe that a wetsuit is all you need. One of my good friends, David Maxwell, I don't think he's on tonight, so I can use him as an example with no recourse, is always paddles in a wetsuit year round. He paddles all year round. He never takes anything except his wetsuit out there. Why does that work for David? Well, when you're immersed, your body heats the water in the neoprene layer. That is how a wetsuit's constructed. And there are different kinds of wetsuits. You have a full body one, which often you'll see the windsurfers or kiteboarders and sup guys wear it. Also a Farmer John Jane, the ones with the just a bottom and the middle part of the top, and then you have top and bottom separates as well. So there's different kinds. They are relatively inexpensive. These are just a couple of $100, maybe a few $100 for a really good one. And they're easier for swimming. They actually provide buoyancy, and also they insulate you from rocks. If you happen to bang into them, you get some protection. It is important to have a snug fit. So although you may not want to kind of look like a model, you want to have that thing hug you because that's how it works. It wants to use your body heat to heat the layer of water that's in the neoprene. 2 to 3 millimeters is our standard around here. And then there's another product which some of us have come across. It's called Aquatherm. It's copyrighted by a company called Reed Chillcheater in the UK. And it's basically a compressed neoprene. So they've taken regular neoprene and compressed it to a thinner layer, but it has the same insulating quality. So that's Aquatherm. But these are all wetsuits. You could have a water shedding inside layer would really help. And there's another type of wetsuit that's come along is the NRS Ultra, which is has a kind of an inner layer to the wetsuit itself, which doesn't retain water, and that helps get it dry very quickly. So just staying with the wetsuits for a minute, just to kind of summarize, I guess, they're inexpensive. That's a good thing. They're flexible, worn close to the skin. They're very durable. If you get a hole in a wetsuit, doesn't really matter. That little spot, you might feel the water, but that's about it. They are cooler in the summer for paddling, but you get wet. And that's the way that wetsuits work. So, you just expect that when you put one on. Peeling it off, this is not as straightforward as you think. They really do hug you, and you need to peel it off carefully. In very cold water, you're going to get cold, you're going to get chilled down. And we are always trying to think about safety, avoiding, if you're in the water for a long time, avoiding hypothermia. They dry very slowly because the neoprene layer will retain that moisture. And relief access, to not put too fine a point on it, is different for males and females. There is some relief. So this is a picture of me here in my NRS Ultra. This is the Farmer John, kind of the farmer look. And you see me on the right-hand panel there showing the inside layer, that blue material, it sheds water. So actually, if you're out on a trip and you're wearing one like this and you hang it up, inside out on a line somewhere, even if it's not very dry, that layer will dry out. And then the next time you put it on, it's not quite so unpleasant. So that's the wetsuit. This is an example of, this is me again, in Aquatherm. So you can see it's quite a bit thinner. It's compressed neoprene material. Same insulating quality as a thicker neoprene. So there's lots of other approaches here. And now we start with some of our additional stars. This is Luc Courtemanche. Luc has a splash jacket on here over his wetsuit. And he's wearing, as you can see, he's got boots on, but if you can see above the boot, there's something here. And this is Reed high socks. So these are socks made out of neoprene that come up to his knee. And then he's got some waterproof work gloves on. So this would be a cold weather paddling kit that you might want to try if you're still using, you want to use a wetsuit. The other thing in warm weather with neoprene, as I mentioned before, they're a bit cooler. This is Deb Leach, and she's got on a shorty. So you can see her legs there because they're just kind of shorts. And then the farmer Jane, she's got some fingerless gloves. These are called sleeves, Patty sleeves, we call them because they were designed for Patty Stevens of Even Patty Go Kayak by Paulo Huelet. But you can get them now in different ways. They have a sort of pardon me, whoops, I went too far. They have a gasket at the wrist, so it keeps the water out and it just goes up to the elbow. And then she's got some short boots. So this might be a warm weather gear with a wetsuit. If it's really hot, you might just go to a two-piece suit. And this is one of those. She's got some kind of pedal pushers, the sun hat going on, light gloves, and some short boots. And, you're going to be quite hot if it's really sunny, but if you go in the water, you're still going to get some protection from that cold water until you can get out of it. These are Debbie again with a couple of her friends. These are boarders, and you can see the boarders have more serious suits. They're going to get quite wet out there. They've got the headgear, they've got the full neoprene, and they look ready for anything out there, as they should be. We don't in kayaking wear something this complete because we heat up as we're paddling usually. So that would be over the top. So that's about wetsuits briefly. And then the notion of a dry suit. I mean, I remember when I heard about this, when I started paddling and someone mentioned, well, there are dry suits. I thought, dry suits, what a fantastic idea. Why wouldn't you like this? It's fantastic. The fit is very important because you need to leave room for insulating layers underneath your suit because it is a dry suit, hopefully, but it is not a warm suit. It is a thin layer, which keeps you dry, but you have to stay warm with other layers beneath that. So you need to have a fit of your dry suit that has room for insulating layers, perhaps of different thicknesses. Kokatat, which is still the sort of most well-respected manufacturer, I would say, of dry suits. They will do custom fitting if you wish. I think John Abercrombie pointed out that Reed Chillcheater will also do custom fitting. We'll get to Reed later and I'll talk a bit more about them, but not everybody does custom fitting, but Kokatat will. And that means your measurements, not just small, medium, large, extra large, or whatever. And then, they may or may not fit all your appendages. A dry suit is cooler in warm weather, obviously, if you have less underneath. So you can vary your insulating layer and adjust your temperature that way. Getting it on and off without assistance, it depends very much on the dry suit. And I'll show you a couple of videos later that John Abercrombie helpfully submitted, and he shows you a couple of different suits. And sometimes you need to do it once or twice to get it, but you can do that. They use gaskets, usually latex. There are a couple of grades, one heavier, one thinner. They also use neoprene as the sort of point where it joins you at the neck or at the wrists. And then there are relief zippers that are included. The suit may not always be dry if you end up with pinholes in it. And you should always check your warranties and repair services for dry suits. So, a few things to remember about dry suits. They are reasonably durable, but they do wear out. The material will, in fact, reach its lifetime at some point, depending on how much you paddle. And then it's not so much a dry suit anymore, especially if you've already put holes in it for some reason or other, and that has needed to be repaired. There are American, Canadian, and British suppliers of these dry suits. I made the mistake of ordering a really cheap dry suit from China. Not to say there aren't good ones from China. There are. My friend Minbao has a good one from Lenfun, but I ordered one from a small outfit and it was hopeless. So be careful with what you order. The pros then, just kind of again summarizing this, the dry suit, if it's zipped up, because many of us have made this mistake and left our zipper not quite done up, and if there are no holes, it's dry. If it's it can be warmer with base layers in underneath for winter and cold weather paddling. You can get pockets, you can get hoods, you can have a tunnel around your spray skirt. These are all options that you can select with a dry suit. So it's, I guess, flexible that way. The high-tech fabrics are really, truly amazing. Gore-Tex is the most well-known of these, but many of the manufacturers now have similar types of materials which allow for your, your sweat to escape, but the water not to come in. So they're kind of like one-way valves that exist there. They will dry out if you hang them up after use, and they dry out fairly quickly. The fabric is quick drying. You have relief zippers differently for men and women, and we'll show some of those later with some pictures. Check the warranty. The cons, so they're expensive. $800 is pretty inexpensive for a dry suit, all the way up to, I've got 1,600 here. I think Tony was just telling me before we started this call that there are some available, and the availability has been difficult. We'll talk about that as we go along, but some Kokatat suits available, and they're about $1,750 now. So really expensive, and maybe that's partly the demand that's developed in the last while. Getting in and out may require flexibility or some assistance depending on your flexibility of your suit, that is. Gaskets do wear out. That's a natural thing and may need replacement, and they can be replaced, and you can replace them yourself. And Siska has some replacement kits, forms and things that we loan out for that if that's a help. Many of us have done that. Standard sizes don't fit everyone, just be aware of that. And now we get on to looking at some of the pictures here. So the warm layer inside your dry suit, this is from John Abercrombie. On the left is a chill cheater underlayer they call it Transpire. It's a fleecy kind of thing that wicks the moisture away from your skin into the fabric. And so you stay warmer because you stay drier. Helly Hansen has their version of that as well. And there are different weights of it. Kokatat women's have a one-piece warm base layer, and Kokatat men's as well. So these are under your dry suit that you would wear depending on the cold and what you're expecting in your paddle. There's a lot out there. So these are from Level 6. Many of you are aware of Level 6, which is out of Ottawa, so it's a Canadian supplier, which is kind of useful. There's a Level 6 here for women called the Vesta, has a drop seat, and the men's called a Vulcan, and these are both with drop seats for relief. So then we have a dry suit with a neoprene neck, and I think that's what Lynn is wearing here. She has a neoprene neck gasket there on her Kokatat dry suit. This is an example of a women's dry suit relief zipper. It goes kind of all the way around. Now, John pointed out this is a bit of an older model now on the Kokatat, and they have newer ones, which I think I've got a picture a bit later. This is called a mid-suit, mid-zip style Kokatat dry suit, and it zips around the waist and then locks in place. And complete closure obviously is critical and somewhat tricky, but can be obviously accomplished quite well. So there are different styles of these things. And so here's the more, this is a contrast actually between the older model of the Kokatat women's suit with the rear relief zip and the more modern, I'd say somewhat more stylish rear suit that looks quite fitted, the more modern one here on the right. This is maybe Mustang, I think. Yeah, Mustang women's dry suits. And it has kind of a zip that goes diagonally around. And so you can use that for relief as well. Looks kind of nifty. And here's more women's dry suits. Kokatat on the left, the light blue. And the one on the right is called the Freya. It's a Level 6 women's suit. And you can see they've got that rear sort of diagonal zip. And this is the one with the rear across the backside zip. So lots of different styles. It's worth checking around to see what there is. People use a semi-dry, dry suit, not full suit that is then, but maybe part suit. So here's Debbie holding some dry pants, which then are dry from, you know, the booties up to here. But if you get water over top, unless you're really well, you know, connected there, you're going to get wet unless you're just getting splashes. But once you're in the water, you're probably going to get some water inside there. It's very good. And a splash top, and she's holding a splash top here, is a good counterpart to some dry pants. And that might be a nice option for perhaps a bit warmer weather or in between weather. So dry suit options to consider. Ensure that you have enough room. So this is about a fitting business. Even think about the cold weather. Even if you get one in warmer weather, you may, when it gets colder and if you wish to paddle in colder weather, need room for a thicker insulating layer. Think about the entry zipper style. So getting in and out of the suit. Front diagonal or a diagonal zip seems to be easier for most people. A relief zipper style is different, obviously male and female. The neoprene or semi-dry gaskets versus latex suit gaskets. Latex will ensure complete dryness. The neoprene, it will let some water in, but only if you hang around underwater for a while. So if you pop right up, you're not going to get any water in your suit if you've got a neoprene gasket. Storm hood is useful for some people, like them, and it's good to have them detachable, because then if you don't want that extra piece there, you can put it away. A waist cinch is another element of many dry suits, sort of pulling in around the waist after you're in it. A spray skirt tunnel I mentioned before. This sort of integrates with your spray skirt to ensure that water is not going to come into your kayak by coming over the top of your spray skirt, say in some splash weather. And then the wrist and ankle closures if you don't have booties attached to your suit, and wrists for those. Pockets, always useful to have pockets for all the things we need out there. So John A, thank you very much, John, if you're on, for sending these along. He's going to demonstrate here in a couple of different little videos. This is a level 6 men's fjord, and it has suspenders, as you see there, and a rear back zip. And I think I can let go. So John's just going to put this on and show you. He puts the arms in, gets that over his top. Now the back zip, this one has about a mid back, high back, I guess, zipper. So John kind of locates it. Gets the air out, burps it, we call it, by opening the gasket, kneeling down. And there he is. Thanks, John. I'm going to move to the next one, which is, this is a paddling suit. Now, this is a real Reed chill cheater suit. Reed, I think I mentioned, has a material they call Aquatherm. It's a compressed neoprene. So this suit is not Gore-Tex, as the last Kokatat was. This is more of a rubbery feel fabric, because it is in fact neoprene. It's just been compressed. Again, with the suspenders, which helps it stay up while you're, if you don't have it fully on, and it's got a diagonal front zip. Both of these, John has already gotten himself into the base, but it's really the challenge is how do you get your arms, your head, and close it up, and that's what he's going to show here again. Reed has these long wrist gaskets. You can see that they're also, it's all Aquatherm, but you really do have to pull that in, and it creates quite a good seal. Once you're fully into it, not going to get any water up at your wrists. It's a little more comfortable as a neoprene sort of sealed thing than getting it over your head sometimes than the latex. And now he's just zipping it up. And burp the suit again. There you go. Thanks, John. So John had some other thoughts. I appreciated him taking a look at our last production, and he wanted to make sure we raised these. So I just thought I'd write them out here. Mid, back, and shoulder zips work okay, but it does depend on one's flexibility. You can see John's pretty flexible. He was able to pull that across the back, and any of us can do it once you get a little practice at it, but you may also just have somebody pull it for you. You know, we paddle with other people so they can help each other out. Metal zippers are harder to close than nylon plastic. And we used to think that nylon or plastic zippers maybe weren't as good. They're very good. They've got the technology has evolved to the point where that zipper is probably going to outlast the rest of your suit. So I would say you don't need to have a metal zipper. If you've got a plastic one, it's just fine. You can get some lubricant. They have different ones made for it, but also John's saying here, O-ring lubricant grease is good and very much cheaper substitute for the special ones that they do sell for dry suit zippers. And then pockets. Well, sleeve pockets, as you can imagine, if you can easily get to your sleeve, it's much more useful than chest or pants pockets, which might be harder to access. Some suits, like the chill cheater suits and maybe others, they don't have any pockets. That's a bit of a problem because, you know, you're sort of got things in your hand. You don't want to put them down and forget them, but it's nice to have a pocket to put things in. And then paddle suits, which are sort of semi-dry. There's lots of variation on these, and you can get a loose neck with drawstrings, like some Mustang suits. Mustangs, by the way, is made over on mainland in North Vancouver, I think. And Velcro flaps, so they can pull that way to be tighter, to quite tight neoprene gaskets like the chill cheater ones. So there's lots of variation here. Jenny Sutton gave us some ideas about this. You'll see this pop up. Her idea, and this is important, your dry suit then is really quite an investment that you've made. And if you're going to sit down on a rock or a log with stuff on it or whatever, you know, you might just pop a little hole in your dry suit. If you carry a pad with you, which many of us carry anyway for in our cockpits, then use it to sit on when you stopped on a beach somewhere, and take care around prickly bushes. That can put pinholes in your Gore-Tex of your dry suit as well. And there's the Tulik. So this is Tony Playfair. Tony's on our line here, and he's recording it tonight. Tony wears a Tulik, at least sometimes he wears the Tulik, which is for really a Greenland style paddling. It combines the top, as you see the blue material here is the top, with a spray skirt. These are integrated. It's the same piece of apparel. It's combined. So that's quite a good idea. It's out of the Greenland paddling world and very useful for that. And then we have a bunch of different options for headgear. Today was a beautiful day. I was out paddling in Saanich Inlet, and it was actually quite warm. But you might want to start these days with a toque. You can even warmer, or if you're going to get in the water, practice your rolls or practice your re-entries or something, use a neoprene hood. Usually peak caps work well if you're paddling because they aren't too warm, you know, shield you from the sun. A helmet if you're doing rock gardening, lots of different headgear things. Neck gaiters, you know, these are the tubular insulated things that you can wear for all sorts of reasons. They're quite useful because you can pull them up and around your head, drop them down and just have it around your neck quite easily. Sun hats, obviously, we are out there in the sun. That's another thing that we need to be conscious of, and they're very useful for that. And then rain. So, you know, any kind of weather, there's a hat for that. A rain hat is essential gear. Barry Copeland, one of our contributors here. This is Barry's cold weather paddling gear. He's got the helmet on right here, but he's also showing he's got a kind of a small cap here that will cover his ears as well. And this is really quite a warm piece, a neoprene full hood that will keep you warm. You know, if you're in the water and you're maybe, you know, trying to practice something, so you're staying a bit longer, you get that ice cream headache pretty quickly. So that kind of hood will really help you out if you're planning to spend more than just a few seconds underwater. And now Barry has upgraded his apparel. He was telling me and showing me. He managed to get this a good deal, I think, on some kind of used sale. And look at it; it's really strong cold weather, kind of outdoor gear. You might see somebody on a sailboat wear something like that, but it's really great to have something like this if you stop on a beach in cold weather and you don't want to get chilled down, while you're having a bit of a break. You can really gear up that way, and it's waterproof as well. So nice one. Toques and pogies. Pogies are the other thing. These are the things that you can use on your paddle. You can attach to a paddle, and your hands go into them, probably also with gloves on, unless it's fairly warm. Pogies are going to keep your hand from getting wet over and over. These are more of Jenny's tips. Hats. She's got a black hat with warm lining for rainy winter days, a white hat with UV for sunny days. A wide brim obviously helps block the sun, and a black wool cap is going to cover your ears for really cold days. So lots of hat options. Every piece of your body, there's probably different options. And one of the ones we notice most is our hands. How do you keep your hands warm? There's many types of gloves for different, paddling conditions. Pogies I've mentioned, whoops. And I'll just go back to that. Hand warmers. So hand warmers come in as little chemical packs that you can, put inside your gloves and keep your hands a bit warmer than they would be otherwise, or inside your boots or socks. They sell these in various stores. So hand warmers, something to bear in mind if you have a problem trying to keep your hands or your feet warm. Multiple gloves. So here's a bunch of different kinds of gloves, and an idea to have a second pair with you so that after lunch, when your first set are wet, you have a dry pair to put on. Very hard to put on wet gloves and not so pleasant. Maybe have some fleece gloves to wear on shore. And another idea here, put your wet gloves between your PFD and your chest while you're eating, and they'll still be wet, but at least they'll be a bit warmer when you try to put them on again if you don't have a second dry pair. Barry's cold weather paddling gear for his hands. He's got, as you see here, some, these are really work gloves, but they're fleece lined or warm lining to them. Obviously, if it comes over the top of that, you're going to get water inside. But if you can paddle in a way that you avoid that, well, it's going to be pretty nice and warm. And these are a short pogie that Barry uses in addition to his gloves. Reed. So Reed Chill Cheater has some different kinds of things. And this is, these are just examples in different colors of their pogies. They're short. They are made of their aquatherm, so they're thin, and they are easy to put your hand in and out of. The Reed pogies are available through that store. And this was something I learned about recently, and I've asked Santa Claus for, which is gauntlets. I think they're originally for Greenland paddling, but they're sort of an integrated mitten and comes up the arm. And Tim Frick here has put together just a little show for you.
Okay, I'm here with Tim Frick. We're at Pat Bay and Saanich Inlet, ready to go out. And Tim's going to show you one of his keeping warm tricks. Go ahead, Tim.
All right, well, these are the Reed Chill Cheater gauntlets. These are the small ones. The long ones are quite a bit longer. These ones will come up to just above the elbow. And they do a great job of keeping your hands dry, especially if you're a Greenland paddler. They're a little bit tricky if you want to tighten them up. You kind of got to hold it in your mouth and then pull on the string. But they work quite effectively. You can wear gloves inside if you wish. A little bit warmer, but really does keep your hands dry in these winter days when it does rain a lot.
What are they made out of, Tim?
They're made out of the Reed Chill Cheater aquatherm material, and so far they're waterproof. And hopefully they'll stay that way.
Okay, thanks, Tim.
Okay, so that's Tim and his gauntlets. And then this is just an example, hand warmers, toe warmers. You can pick these up in boxes at Canadian Tire and Costco and places like that if you want to use these little chemical packs. They are disposable, as it turns out, but they will, they say, keep you warm for up to 8 hours. It's not hot. This is just a gentle heat. I've used them once or twice. And so if that's something that's a concern for you, you might want to think about that. Then there's your feet. You know, it's your extremities, right, that you notice most. So there's boots, of course, there's socks, and we did talk about the toe warmers. Even inside a dry suit, you might consider that. Here's Elizabeth Purdon, and she's going to show you a few of the boots that she uses as part of her tripping footwear. So Elizabeth.
Hi, I'm Elizabeth Purdon, and I'm going to say a couple things about footwear. So I have slipped and fallen on slippery rocks carrying kayaks a couple of times too often, which can result in sprained ankles and even worse, a hole in your line bag. So I pay careful attention to what I put on my feet. There's probably more injuries actually that happen on shore than when you're in the water. So this is my number one choice of footwear. These are 5'10" water tennies, and they're a canyoneering shoe. They're designed for people walking around in canyons. It's a big sport somewhere. They've got a very good rubber on the bottom that really sticks to those rocks. And it's got some ankle support. And you don't get rocks down your boots very easily, so it protects the foot of your dry suit. But they just have amazing support. So that's what I prefer to wear when I'm kayaking. But they're not insulated. So in the winter time, we like these NRS booties. They come up just above the ankle, got a good zipper. They fit fairly snugly around the foot here, so they do provide a bit of support. They've got a fairly thick sole, so it's pretty good for traction on the rocks, but they really do keep your feet warm. They have this nice lining inside, fleecy thing that really does keep the foot warm. It's got a fairly wide toe box too, which helps. And I limit my footwear on a trip to 2 pairs of shoes, including what I wear in a kayak. So these water tennies actually make really good hiking shoes when you're on shore. They dry quickly, and just with another wool sock underneath, even if a bit damp, makes an excellent hiking shoe. On the West Coast and during wetter weather, we really like wearing these particular extra tough gum boots. They last so much better than some of the less expensive brands that we've had. The sole is really thick and sticky, and they fit nicely on your foot. They're not sloppy. And summertime, if it's a bit warmer, you can roll them down so you don't get too hot. That's our choice for wet weather camping and West Coast Vancouver Island camping. And when you're camping in nice warmer weather, we like these. They look like Crocs, but they aren't. They're called UFOs. We bought them at a store in Port McNeil when we were on a kayak trip. They stick. They fit your foot so much better. Crocs are quite sloppy, and it's really easy to twist your ankle in them, whereas these have better support. They stick onto your foot better, and they're not plasticky. They've got a really good sole, which also sticks well on the rocks. That's my opinions on footwear.
Okay, thank you very much, Elizabeth. We canvassed around to look for socks, and Debbie Leach came up with this sock pinwheel, which she's updated as well. So she's got 5 different socks here. The purple merino, you know, color can be very important. And so there you go. You've got the merino in purple. Chill cheaters, that would be these ones you can see with their moniker. So these are Aquatherm, just a dry sock. Blue heat holders. So these are a warm sock that's sold for just to be very warm. You've got neoprene socks. You can get them in various places. These are obviously from Mech. And then these are Randy Sun, which is just another manufacturer. It's a kind of a multi-layer dry sock. So you can look these up online and see what you think. And there's probably others out there as well, but that's the pinwheel that Debbie suggested. A little bit more about the high paddling socks here, because Well, I don't use them, but I noticed that Luke had them in that earlier photo. I think he may have had these. They're even higher, come up to your thigh. So high paddling socks might be useful if your lower gear is not waterproof. These will keep you dry. Again, it's sort of a rubbery neoprene fabric here, and they're socks. So again, keeping warm. I think I already had one of these, so I won't have to repeat that again. You can get the warmers. Oh, this is just an example of the toe warmers. They have a little adhesive patch on the bottom, and it's shaped in a way to go on top of your sock. So nice and cozy. Lunchtime options. So at lunchtime, this is an issue when you're out paddling, at least for me. If I'm paddling, I stay warm. I'm working, I'm generating some heat, and it's not such a problem. But as soon as I stop, I start cooling down very quickly. So there's such a thing as a keg. And we don't usually use this term here. It's kind of British or European term. A keg is an over jacket, which has a wide bottom, which actually goes around your on top of your kayak cockpit, the coaming. So we've got a reed storm keg. That's the one that Luke is on here. And we've got a Kokatat one. I'll just let this play.
All right, we're looking at kegs. This is Luke with his double weight keg, the heavy duty one from Reed. And we have Debbie, and she's got showing off the Kokatat
With the
storm
nice
keg.
warm place for your hands.
Warm place for the hands.
But there's
Nice.
a little slot where you can still reach in
Okay.
and get your radio.
Okay, very good. And John
This
has,
is not a keg, but this is an extra large rain jacket from Salvation Army,
okay.
$4.99.
And it's working well. It's just keeping him warm here at lunch.
Big
We're
enough.
stopped on Rutland. And then you remember the great one over here. He's got the tunic going. It's the everything, you know? Yeah, Tony's always styling in his tunic. Tunic. All right.
This is a little close-up of Luke's storm keg. You can see it's a single piece garment, and at the bottom, quite wide, this goes around your cockpit coaming. So this is the heavy duty version. There are different versions, and the Kokatat is not quite as heavy, but they all have the same function. They go over everything you might have underneath, or you can put, in this case, is PFDs on the outside, and will really keep you warm. Jenny Sutton, more tips from Jenny to stay warm at lunch. Change into fleece gloves. I think we heard that before from someone. Bring dry paddling gloves in your lunch bag, then you'll know right where they are. And pour some hot water or some hot water from a spare thermos into your wet gloves. If you want to warm them up after lunch, just have it for that purpose. And that makes those cold gloves much more inviting. So these are sort of elements that we went through, and putting it all together. What do some of our more experienced Siska paddlers wear? So I went out and asked for people to give us their views and do a little video, and we had some fun with this, especially with the guys who are these guys. I have to tell you, these guys have been paddling to Chatham Discovery from Oak Bay every week since the pandemic began. What's that now? 2 years? Every week they pick a day and that's where they go. And so they've become good friends and paddling friends, kind of specializing in the Chatham Discovery Islands, which are wonderful islands. This is David Maxwell.
Okay, fingerless gloves, wet water pogies, come in and out, and get your hands out quickly. A North Water vest that allows you to have a tow belt on it. Place for your radio. Goes over top of your PFD. Cheaper than buying a new PFD that has a tow belt attachment on it. My PFD, pretty straightforward. No pockets, kind of crappy, but I own it already. My Tilly hat, floats, keep your head warm. My spray skirt. This is a hoop spray skirt. It's supposed to keep the water off you. It's got a little compartment in the front where you put stuff. Paddling jacket. A must. On winter days like this is, January day. Now, underneath my paddling jacket, if I can get it off, is a fleece vest, just to keep you a little warmer in these cold days. But because I paddle in a wetsuit, I like to wear extra layer. This is a 2mm long sleeve shirt that goes under my wetsuit, keeps me nice and warm. And these are underwear. And down to my boots. Okay, tall boots, pair of socks inside, and a pair of I have an old pair of running shoes, the liner at the bottom, so keep your feet warm inside the boat. That's it. Happy pack.
So if you heard somebody chuckling there, that was John Minkley, who we have John to thank for these videos. He was videoing the others. And David, I think I mentioned before, is the fellow who just wears a wetsuit. He's never owned a dry suit and he doesn't intend to. So he's really got his kit down. So we'll move on from John. This is Alex Breiker. I was paddling with Alex earlier today. Strangely not to Chatham Discovery. He sometimes does that and then does another paddle. So this is Alex. He's got a little bit different here.
Hi, my name is Alex Siska. I have got a pad, really nice and warm with warm padding inside. My glasses that I really need to see who is behind me and who is in front. My dry suit and my booties. That's about it. Underneath I have just underwear and one shirt. That's about it.
Okay.
If I'm cold, I have to paddle faster this hole.
Thanks, Alex.
Dear. And I should tell you that Alex does paddle faster. He's almost always the guy you're looking at out in front. John Abercrombie. Now, John's very experienced and has tried a number of different types of gear, as you've noticed earlier in the presentation. So here's what John had to say.
John Abercrombie. In the wintertime, I use pogies and paddle, and all year round I wear gloves. So that's my hand combination. On my head, I've got a Gore-Tex hat with fleece lining, and it's got ear flaps that can be folded up. I need to do temperature control. This morning it was about 3 degrees Celsius when we started. It's about 8 or 10 now, probably. I always wear a neoprene, pretty well always wear a neoprene tunnel spray skirt, and that's an extra layer of insulation under my PFD. And under that, I've got a dry suit, level 6 dry suit. I've cut a few bits off. And under that, I've got a full layer of fleece and then a base layer, underwear layer, and wool socks and padding boots. That's some neoprene insulation.
Thanks, John.
All right, that's John. And then this was the videographer from the earlier guys. This is John Minkley.
Hello, I'm John Bingley. My head, I wear a wide full cap, which is a nice Russian positive look. Nice look at PFD, I like these lots of pockets. Radio in one. Some blues in that pocket.
Got a toe belt protector.
Some sunscreen in this pocket. Here. This gray skirt. I have a dry suit. Lots of pockets for this. Like those. Got a hood. Very nice to have a hood. On my paddling hands, I use the short pokies that John was describing. With arthritis in my thumbs, so I wear these wrist braces. With my hands, and I wear these narrow, tight neoprene gloves. Got arthritis with the fingers. Feeling good. On my feet, like the rest, I've got sandals. These are Keen sandals. I really like them because they've got a very thick sole. Just over my need in my dry suit, I have a neoprene sock. That's it. Thanks for. Bye-bye.
Thank you, John.
So that John's kit, the element you might want to just remember is he puts a neoprene sock over his dry suit sock. And he does that to protect the dry suit sock from getting punctured. Often you step on things, or maybe they're inside your boots or something you don't notice. And neoprene socks are quite inexpensive and an extra layer of insulation, but you'd have to think about what you're fitting into to make room for them. This is Lynn Beyer and her paddling kit.
Hi, I'm Lynn. From top to bottom, here's my winter kit. I have been using a neck tube out of fleece to keep my ears warm over top of my ball cap. The neck tube also doubles as a quick face mask that we all need these days. I prefer a dry suit. I like the convenience of stepping out and still be wearing street clothes. I have the gender non-specific suit that has the P-zip, which requires one of these little gizmos to pee with if you are a woman. I'm not going to tell you it's 100% effective. Gloves. I have a tendency to have very cold hands. So this is what's working for me right now would be rubber gloves that come up quite high to keep the water out. And underneath that, I have simple dollar store fleece gloves. If that's not enough, I have neoprene pogies, which go over my paddle, and I've never not been able to keep my hands warm that way. In summer, I have a pair of nylon pogies. Okay, now I'm gonna wrestle out of this thing. I love my dry suit when I'm wearing it. I do not love putting it on and taking it off. Anyhow, there we are. Underneath, on my upper layer, I have a neoprene mid-weight wool, merino wool shirt. I put the Siska nylon top over top because the merino has a tendency to get holes in it. Underneath, I have my mid-weight merino wool long johns, and that keeps me nice and toasty. Now I have a couple of who knows where pinhole leaks in my dry suit. So I have a tendency to get wet feet. So what I've done is I have put waterproof socks over top of another pair of merino wool socks, which makes my foot thing quite bulky. So I go with simple Crocs. They're cheap, they're quite insulating actually, and the water runs out of them. I prefer the ball cap for keeping the sun off, but if it's going to rain, I have this fleece-lined Gore-Tex hat, which I love. It's been with me for 15 years. If I'm cold on the beach, I can throw a poncho over top of everything, and that will help block the wind and keep me a little drier and warmer. In the summer, I will overheat, and so I go with the neoprene Farmer Jane with its handy dandy little P-zip at the bottom. All that being said, I have a new Gore-Tex suit on order, and I've gone with the women's specific one. I'm just finding the P-zip on the unisex a little too awkward. I've had some close calls. So yeah, that's me. That's my kit.
Thanks, Lynn. So some real advice there from somebody who's tried a lot of things, Lynn Byer. And Jenny Sutton, this is just a picture of her out by the 10-mile marker, and her winter kit. Jenny uses fleece pants, as you see, icebreaker wool shirt and a vest, and a cap under a helmet. So, you know, lots up there. Thick wool socks, and she does use the toe warmers inside her dry suit feet with knee-high boots. Pogies, fingerless gloves, and get some dry gloves afterwards. And then if she's planning immersion, Jenny adds a layer of thin wool long jeans. So underneath she'd have another layer if she's planning to be in the water. That's Jenny's winter kit. I wanted to thank everybody. I think these are all the names of people you saw just now, but it was very gracious and helpful of them all to share their stories. Some of them are personal, and I appreciate that very much. And I think some of them are on the line. So I'm going to stop the share here and come back. And Lisa, if you want to go ahead with any questions that may have cropped up, or we're open to whatever people are interested in knowing more about.
Alan, do you always wear a base layer underneath the wetsuits?
I do not always do that. In the summertime, I wouldn't. Lisa, by the way, you're muted, just so you know. But in the winter time, if I'm wearing a wetsuit, I would wear a base layer just because it's a little bit more, it'll get wet, of course, a little bit more insulation, and something I can peel off fairly easily.
Okay, we have a question. Can you hear me now?
Yep.
Okay, question from Diane Underhill saying, with dry suits, is it possible to replace latex gaskets with neoprene gaskets if that is your preference?
Yes, it is. Yeah. Some of the people on this line have had a lot more experience than I have replacing gaskets, like Tony, I'm thinking. So I haven't actually done that, but I know it's possible. It's again an AquaSeal sort of replacement thing. You're cutting off the old one and cementing in a new one, and we have a form for that. Tony, is there anything more you want to add to that?
No, I've never changed a latex to a neoprene, but Lisa, hasn't Rob done it for the neck?
No, I don't. I think his gaskets are all latex and always have been latex.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Yeah, I thought I had heard he had done it.
Talking about me?
Yeah.
One of my neck gaskets is neoprene.
Oh, he says one of his neck gaskets is neoprene, but did you change it from latex to neoprene? Oh, sorry, Tony, you know him better than I do.
No.
Can be done.
Yeah, that would be an interesting procedure. I'd like to see it one day.
Okay.
And I know you have, Lisa, you have a Mustang suit, right?
Yes, it's got latex.
Right. I just picked one up too. And maybe I should just mention a couple items about the Mustang suit. We don't see many around yet, but I noticed the neck latex seal is tapered instead of more like the Cocatat. And they use tapered latex wrist gaskets also. And in their instructions, they seem to prefer you to cut them to your desired size instead of stretching them.
Oh.
Just
okay.
some information I just read, yeah. And the material they use is their own material. I guess it's really heavy duty because they make, survival suits they have for many years. So as you know, the suit is pretty sturdy. I haven't worn, what do you think about them?
I love mine, and I would say that on me, the neck gasket is not nearly as tight as a couple other dry suits that I have tried on. The wrist gaskets I find on mine are tighter than the neck gasket, which is fine with me, but I really like that I don't feel strangled by the neck gasket.
Right, I agree. Yeah.
We have a question from Katie Jones that says, how often do folks wash their dry suits and what kind of soap do you use?
Right. Well, I guess everybody's a bit different here. I have washed mine. You actually can buy special washing material. I got mine at Mac, but I think it's available elsewhere. I think it's Nick Wax or something like that is the brand made for it, and you wash it in with it and then hang it to dry kind of thing. What I found is that it certainly cleans the dry suit. It may not restore, the water repellence as much as you might like. Over time, that seems to just dissipate. But there is special, and other people use just a gentle soap, like I've heard Dawn dish detergent, for instance, just used as a gentle soap product, and that probably works just as well. Any other comments on that?
I haven't had mine long enough to wash it yet.
You can buy a spray too, a DWR spray,
Right.
or you can buy the product that washes in.
Yeah.
I've personally used the spray so that it would be on the outside and in the areas I wanted it most.
Okay. The DWR is for water repellency, so it's a way of renewing that. Like when you get a new suit, and if you put water on it, you'll see it bead as the water kind of drips off. And after you've had your suit a while, you'll see it wet. It actually wets the area that the water has been, and that means it's losing that water repellency. So you can restore it a bit with one of these DWR products to just give it a bit of a boost.
We have a question. Who's making made to measure dry suits these days?
Coca Tap.
Yeah, I know if you go to Blue Dog, in a Mill Bay, they'll custom measure you and then order it.
I've had that done at Blue Dog.
Yeah.
I've had mine custom measured. Awesome.
Right.
You do pay more
Right
money, but it's
now-
worth it.
Right now, you can't. I phoned Coca-Tat just the other day, and they said, try us again in January. They're not doing any custom fits now.
Okay.
Ah,
Oh,
okay, thanks, Pat.
The other company that does custom fitting is Reed, but that's not a dry suit. That's a paddling suit. So it's the Aquatherm again.
Okay, do we have any other questions? We've had a number of people say, thanks, great presentation in the chat.
Oh, I just thought of something with the thing came up before about gaskets. And, there's the whole business about what you want. And then there's, where do you find this stuff? Like Pat said, they are maxed out right now. A lot of the suppliers, could be supply chain problems or just production volumes aren't keeping up. Some people have I have as well sourced gaskets much less expensively through the UK. There's a company called Siska, just like that, seaskin.co, and it's a diving company in Britain. They sell diving gear, but they also sell, as part of their accessories, gaskets for replacement. And their gaskets, for reasons I can't understand, are like a fraction of the cost of the gaskets you can buy, if you can find them, around here. So something to consider. Of course, it takes a while for them to come and all of that, but it's a number of us have done that. Maybe some of us have put together orders so you get a bunch and share whatever the shipping is. But Seaskin is a good company in Britain for less expensive latex gaskets. I think they may sell neoprene gaskets too, but I'm not sure about that.
I find their latex gaskets in sizing can be a little inconsistent. The last batch we got of mediums, I normally use a medium wrist gasket, and the mediums were too big. So I went and put on the smalls, and I've been stretching them for a month on soup cans.
Wow.
You're not supposed to trim them, and they don't narrow gradually. They kind of stay the same, and then so it's kind of hard to know what to do.
Yeah.
I'm still stretching them.
We have a question from Diane saying, any suggestions about where to purchase warm hats and gloves for paddling?
Oh, we have Siska hat that has a brim, which is kind of neat.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, it's a tooth that covers the ears and it has a brim on it. So it's kind of nice for a winter paddling hat. And you can flip up the ear covers if it gets too warm.
Yep. Capital Iron, if you're in Victoria, or a place like that, if you're not, where they carry a lot of work gear, often have warm hand and head apparel. There's a place in Nanaimo actually called ONO, which I've used. These places, ONO is online as well, to purchase some heavy sort of clothing, whether it's waterproof or whatever. It just depends what you're looking for. If you're looking for something specifically oriented to kayaking, then my experience is it's going to be a little harder to find right now. We've lost some of our retail capacity down here in Victoria. So, and then online, it just depends what place you're looking for. I don't know if others, I don't shop that much anymore because I've kind of got a bunch of stuff. Others have more recent experience. I'd love to hear where you found stuff.
John Abercrombie is suggesting that Trotac in Victoria is worth a look for hats and gloves.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Marine store. Yep.
We have another question from Trina. Are dry suits often worn in warm summer weather?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I mean, I have worn them. They are warm. I wear like sort of very little underneath. Because they do allow your body moisture to escape. That's the Gore-Tex. If it's a good dry suit with that kind of material, it will do that. So yes, you can wear that in warmer weather. It probably is a bit warm for some. It really depends on your metabolism and how much heat you generate when you're paddling and so on.
Waiting to see if any more come in.
Okay. You know, I'll just mention today we were paddling with Brian Henry. Someone will remember Brian from Ocean River, and he passed on that they're going to reopen a store. Who knew? At the Oak Bay Marina. You know, Oak Bay Marina is going through a redevelopment, so apparently they're going to have a small store there starting in April. We also have this a new outfit in town called Best Coast Outfitters, but I think we were talking about this before the call started. They have some material online and they were looking to start a store downtown, but either it hasn't come together yet or they haven't, sort of staged their opening probably. That hasn't happened. In Victoria, we really have lost some capacity. I understand that the Valhalla Pure in Nanaimo has a lot of paddling gear. That's good. The Valhalla Pure store in Victoria, not so much. And MEC, unfortunately, their stock has really diminished under their new corporate structure. I've noticed anyway, the paddling kayaking gear is not, it's not as available. So a little harder than it has been, especially with, the pandemic and the effect on the supply chains.
Heather, this is maybe a question for you. The question is, how do pogies work with Greenland paddles?
I cut them a bit to make them slide over when I need them to slide down the paddle more. And their little Greenland paddles, flare where you grip them. So I find I had to trim my neoprene pogies in order to make that work. So, and it isn't as nice as the Euro blade it's a little harder to make it work.
That's actually why Tim uses the gauntlets, by the way.
Yeah.
Which are made for Greenland paddles, because there's no need for a pogie. You're already encased in a waterproof.
I'm thinking of trying that. Sounds good.
Yeah.
Oh, we should maybe mention that people who want to buy anything from NRS, that's available at Valhalla in Victoria and Nanaimo. And there's one other place. Oh yeah, the board shop near Olivolio's.
Oh, in Cadbro Bay.
Yeah, they can get NRS too.
Booties?
Anything.
Oh.
Any item, yeah.
Cool.
Good to know. You kind of have to know your supplier and retail these days as well as what you're looking for, don't you?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I think we've exhausted the questions at this point. So thank you so much, Alan, and everyone else who contributed. Thanks, Tony, for doing the recording. And I will just put in a plug for that we have another couple of Zoom sessions coming up on December 14th. We're doing choosing a VHF radio with Edgar. And on the 16th, there is VHF radio for kayakers. We currently have 3 spots of the 12 left for that. And if we get oversubscribed or, more than 12 people want to do it, Edgar said he will do more than one session of this at a later time. So thank you, everybody, for coming.
Thanks,
Thank
Lisa.
Thank you.
Okay, good
Thanks.
night.
Bye.
Good night.